Statement of Nick Miller, a hiker. Recording of statement is placed on December 3rd, 2016. Recording begins.
Thank you so much for seeing me.
Of course, that's what we're here for.
I just wanted to ask, what are you guys gonna do for me?
Well, that depends on whether or not we deem your story to be true. If you really believe this is a paranormal event, we'll handle it.
Whether or not it's real? I saw it with my own eyes. I'm not crazy. You should have seen that thing. It was wrong.
Very well. If you would calmly exit the room, I will begin examining your statement you submitted.
Fine.
I always loved the woods. It was some of the only time my dad would spend with me. He was always a very busy man, and that time in the woods was some of the best we'd ever spent together. We would hike, camp, and hunt. We'd make the long drive out to the woods, hunt for the day, and then sleep in the cabin he had built himself. The cabin was considerably large. It had 2 floors and it was big enough for the whole family. It never really felt cramped out there in that thing. I had some great times with him in that cabin. I was very upset when he had passed. Who wouldn't be? He wasn't a very rich man, but he had left me some money and whatnot. The real thing I was happy he had left, though, was his cabin. It had meant the world to me as a kid, and now it was mine. I missed him, and I thought a trip out to the woods would be exactly what I needed to cheer myself up. I still wish I hadn't gone out there. It was a huge mistake. I'll never have more regrets than that night. I arrived with my dog, Buddy. I hated to bring my dog when it was so cold, but to be completely honest, the thought of being out in the woods completely alone disturbed me. It was early December, and that night, after a pretty heavy snowfall. The entire ground was covered with layers of the stuff. There wasn't much snow other than the occasional tree that sprung from the ground. I was thrilled when I got to the clearing where my new cabin was. I thought it'd just be like old times with my dad. I was wrong. I waded through the snow and into the house, slamming the door shut behind me to keep out the cold, desperately trying to join me inside. Buddy was still by my side, rubbing against my pant legs to get the snow off of him. He eventually gave up and retreated to the corner to lie down. He was a very quiet and very calm dog, all things considered. I took a quick glance at the clock and realized how late it had gotten. It was around 6 p.m. when I finally ate dinner. I had to hurry if I wanted to get some time to go hunting before it grew too dark to see. I finished my meal and headed out with Buddy in tow. I found a small area of shrubbery that surrounded the clearing. I thought it'd be an ideal spot to see some animals. In the 3 hours I had sat there patiently waiting with my gun readied, I hadn't seen a thing. That wasn't too unusual, especially in the winter. But I always seem to remember the wilderness teeming with wildlife around here. I suppose it could have just been my childish perspective of things. The strangest thing, though, there was not one noise the whole time. It was like the world had gone quiet, and it was waiting for something. It felt as if some invisible force was absorbing every single sound. Buddy hadn't made a peep since we arrived. And other than a muffled sound of crunching snow beneath my boots when I moved, there was not a single noise. By 9 p.m. it was very dark, and I decided I needed to give up and retreat to the cabin. I knew my way around the forest like the back of my hand, and I made it home with no problems at all. My legs carried me up the stairs and I collapsed in the bed. I wasn't exactly tired, so I just lay there relentlessly, and Buddy curled up by my side and did the same. I just decided to stare out at the large sliding glass balcony doors into the night. The only thing visible was the lone tree. Eventually, though, I felt Buddy nudging me. He hopped out of bed and pranced downstairs to the door. I assumed he wanted to go outside to pee, and so I let him out. Now, mind you, I'm not someone who's afraid of the dark, but there was something about that night that made me want to stay inside. I pushed against that feeling and I followed Buddy outside. He did his business and everything was fine. Until on the way back, he stopped in his tracks. His right ear shot straight up. His head snapped to face something I couldn't see off in the dark black void of the night. He started barking like I had never heard him bark before. While I couldn't see what he was barking at, I knew something was there. I did manage to make out something else. Tracks. Human tracks. Ones far bigger than those left by me. I grabbed Buddy and I sprinted to the door. I can't describe how quickly I locked the doors and the windows. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, but I knew it wasn't. There was something out there. No, someone out there. and all the times I had gone here with my dad, not a single other soul had been here, and those tracks I had seen were large, fresh, and alongside the cabin. I returned to my bed and I pulled the blanket up to my neck like it was some sort of impenetrable shield. Buddy nuzzled against my chest, moving right up against me. I tried to shove the idea out of my mind, again to no avail. I thought perhaps some sleep would help. I tossed and turned. Eventually I rolled over and opened my eyes. That's when I saw him. Or it. I'm not really sure what it was, or even if it was human. There, or on that tree in the clearing, it sat, staring through the balcony's glass doors. It was tall, well over 6 feet, and unnaturally thin. Its mouth was covered in a dark, viscous liquid. It did not move. It simply remained perched on that tree. But I could tell it was staring directly at me. I freaked out. I hopped out of bed. By the time I had made it to the door to draw the curtains, it was gone. I still drew the curtains and made sure to block the doors. My mind began to spiral as the room's darkness consumed me. Buddy was now up and alert by my side. That's when I heard it. The empty, noiseless sound of the night was interrupted by a haunting noise. That thing, it was walking around the cabin, pacing in circles around the building and tapping on the walls with its grotesque fingers. I heard its voice. I don't quite know how to explain it. It was just wrong. It said words, but its voice shifted, like it was trying to mimic several at a time. It said, "Hello, hello, it is me. Let me in. I would like to come in." The haunting noise of its voice cut through the air. I couldn't bring myself to respond, to breathe, or to move. I was frozen in place. It continued to pace around the cabin, tapping on the walls, and asked to be let in for what felt like hours. Until it all stopped. I allowed myself to exhale. I breathed in the cold night air and thought it was over. But then I heard a loud thumping on the roof that sounded like hooves, and the tapping started again. I'm not kidding when I said I nearly wet myself. It was on the roof. How could it? Then the most frightening thing of all happened. I heard the hooves click and clack until it reached the balcony. A loud thud could be heard. A vaguely human silhouette could be seen through the window. I could make out its long, spindly fingers reaching up to the glass door and begin tapping. "Hello, it is me. I've arrived. Let me in." It took me all my might not to cry out in fear, and it continued like that until it stopped. As the sun had begun to rise and the sound had stopped, and the silhouette had vanished, the second it was bright enough to see, I grabbed Buddy and I ran for the car as fast as I could. I never went back to that cabin after that. Statement ends. Call Nick back in. Sit down, Nick. Let's talk.